Okay, welcome back to Earth here and the 442nd Knowledge Seekers Workshop on Thursday, July 21st, 2022. This will be the second part of our workshop here today, and this again is the special energy blueprint day, part 2, and we're back with Mr. Kesh now, I believe. Hello, Mr. Kesh.
Yes, we are back in. Welcome back. And if there are any questions, except those, can you tell us how you build it, what it is? And is this Gansen and that, which we don't answer, as we always say. You had 15 years to do it. Patents were released to you 10 years ago, and to your governments over 12 years ago, or 10 years ago. So the beauty of it is how much the humanity will benefit by this. Would you like to change your screen? We are where, somewhere. Rick?
Yeah, I'm just trying to sort that out here. I have to stop my share in order to get yours up. Here we go.
Okay. So we come into what we call, you see this unit still running. We see this unit still at these elements and showing its work. Any questions?
Well, of course, the first question was, can I see inside the device? Which I responded in YouTube with a simple no. But you're used to that question. And I assume that it's the same in this
Must
case.
be an Italian asking that question. They usually ask that.
The name is Tarak. I don't know if they're particularly Italian. Let me see. A reminder, attendees here, that you can put up your virtual hand, and then you can we can open your microphone so you can ask a question directly. Did have a question from Joel in the Q&A here in Zoom, who says, Mr. Kesh, thank you again for your welcome in Linz. We are indeed still connected to the flight unit. For the unit dedicated to electric cars that I created, thanks to your teachings, I could see that the battery health was still 100% after 4 years of use. Do you have any information on the state of wear of the batteries in the current trials? I think that the plasma compensates the deficit of consumption generated by the use of the energy of the battery and regenerates it.
Not really. It pulls it in by other system which feeds it. It's in a way, as you say, it's another way of putting it. The plasma is always available in the environment of it. It depends what it pulls out of it. There is something which we never thought in the teachings, but it'll become important for many of you knowledge seekers to realize, which is an addition to the knowledge of present time. I'm going to take over with the whiteboard and then I'll explain it. In the present science, we call them isotopes. Let me get this thing sorted. When we call it isotopes in so many different ways, even with the hydrogen, we call it 1, 2, hydrogen 2, or what we call tritium. Or we have different carbons, so whatever we call it, carbon 13, carbon 14, and the rest of it. Or we go into understanding the totality of the knowledge, which is lacking in the world of physics of today. How do we create these isotopes? How? And the reason that isotopes are created that never been understood and it's just been accepted. As a nuclear physicist, this was one of the first things I had to understand. You call it isotopes. I call it different direction energy packs. It's very easy. I always say, if you can't understand it in micro, go to macro, and you understand it very easy. In the present world of physics, astronomy, whatever you call, you have all the planet, stars, rotate in a, what we call, doesn't matter, clockwise or anti-clockwise direction. This gives you, let's say, hydrogen. How come I lost my pen? Yeah. So this gives you the hydrogen. And then how does a hydrogen attracts an additional neutron? What condition changes it? Why some planetary system have one moon, and some planetary system have 2 moons, and some planetary systems have 12 moons? Is there any difference in the world of physics between the planetary system and their moons and atomic structure and electrons? There is no difference. But the interesting thing for many of us is this my microphone? Is it me? The comment. My battery is loose. Just 1 second. We get the hashing out of the thing. I think it's running out of battery. Bear with us for a few seconds that we can change the battery.
Should be fine.
Can you hear me now? Rick?
Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, we had to change the battery. The headphone was playing games. So what it is, we have this moon, combination of moons and other structures. Let's say if we call it hydrogen with 1 electron, Earth with 1 moon. In a plasmatic condition, what we call in a matter state neutron and protons, they sit inside as a, what we call the games. These are the plasmatic energies which we have never understood. How come we still have tritium, but still with 1 electron, with 1 moon? So if we create a condition of different structures, we attract different number of moons or electrons. Earth, to the present world of physics, is a hydrogen because it has only 1 electron. But how does it become deuterium and how does it become tritium? Very simple. Again, go back to the world of creation. What do? Give it a twist. Give it an angle. You call it the axis of the Earth is 5 degrees or whatever off axis of the vertical position, which gives you seasons, which gives you different absorption of energy. So if in a nuclear science we look at the totality, maybe deuterium stays this way. Tritium has axis rotation on its nucleus field, and deuterium is slightly twisted. On Earth, we call it seasons. In nuclear plasma physics, we call it isotopes. It does not matter what sits, how many protons, electrons sits inside. In the plasma technology is a essence of the fields, and the strength it produces in respect to. Now, for the first time, you understand plasma as isotopes of plasma. And if we understand this, now we can create nuclear radiation. This is what I do. You create different angles. We create, is it back again, my microphone, or is it sitting on the control panel? So now for the first time, we know if we twist it a little bit, you twist it. You want to change the microphone? Is it the microphone? It comes from noise interference of the systems. So if we twist it slightly to a different angle, you get deuterium. Or is this deuterium? And this becomes your, what we call the hydrogen. Different angle in collective plasma dictates the seasons, the field in radiation. And this will become part of the teaching in the future, because I cannot find a nuclear material, but I have the knowledge which I can twist the plasma of the center, the plasma of the material, and putting it in that angle will give me gamma radiation, alpha radiation, and any other radiation, even into deep cosmos radiation, which one has no knowledge of. What's on the screen is a gold dust to nuclear physicists and plasma physicists, if they understand it. It's the cornerstone of the new plasma technology. This is why I carry nuclear material in hand without, because my body coming from the deeper space knows how to transfer. This picture on the screen is the cornerstone of the new plasma technology for deep space. I can release from different position of this energies that the present nuclear weapon technology cannot even match. We're switching the microphone for a second, please. Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead, Mr.
Okay.
Keshe.
I have to change the microphone. So now you understand. Today, I haven't given you plasma technology. This is a knowledge which man needs, and most probably is more important to you than the energy power supply you have seen. This is the secret of creation. And how you twist or position the central core, central plasma, dictates how many moons you attract. What is the combination of the fields in that process that allows for it to be done? I told you, I start teaching you beyond knowledge. This is what you have to understand. And if you understand this, if the physicists understand this, a new world of science and technology in plasma has started. Then, if you understand this and take it a step further, this plasma can be energy of your soul. How does it move? That makes one character to become a murderer, one character to be a lover, and how so rapidly we move from one to another. There is no difference in the world of creation. It's the man who doesn't understand it brings that difference. Then you understand how we interact with you in the flight system. You cannot go into space if you do not understand this. This is the cornerstone of the creation and the work of creating. We're still trying to fix this. This is the first fundamental teaching on the plasma technology in a universal condition. But now, for man to understand how to twist it, like the Beckham does, is a riddle for thousands of years. If you know how to deal with this atom of hydrogen, as I say in English, an atom of hydrogen is and can behave as plutonium. How you twist it, how you angle it, how you speed it up decides how many moons it'll attract. It'll decide how many electrons you attract. Because in a matter state, you look at what we call nucleus. And then what we call in plasma technology as one plasma. And what decided in this plasma dictates the position number of the moon. And then in the nuclear industry, what field radiation you want to take from which moon. The way you created gold, well, and the way we created hydrogen gas from. Beginning of a new era in the world of plasma technology and physics for man. Up to now, we dealt with the matter state physics. From now on, we deal with the world of the plasma physics, the true plasma physics, not the game in CERN or tokamak and what we've seen in nuclear industry in the past few decades. You do not need much to create the effect of plutonium from single atom of hydrogen. We do not need to bring and change the condition. This is what I said in the past few teachings, directly going for IAEA and directly going for what we call the sanctions on Iran. Iranian nuclear physicists have access to the knowledge that man cannot dream. What do you want me to create plutonium in and where? 100% pure, not the way they're tackling it and worrying about 20% enrichment. I give it to you as rich as it comes, 100%. Takes me 5 seconds. This is what we say. This is what will take time to actually siphon off into the world of science and technology, and to show that with a single atom, you can have all conditions of the universe, all materials of the universe. Uranium, plutonium are on the bottom scale if man is looking for matter state. How do you handle when you have 2,000, 3,000 energy of electrons? What will be your response? In deep space, how do you think these fields of the universe get to us? How do they divide? How do they create new life? And then, now with one knowledge, you understand the soul of the man, the matter energy of the man, the what we call the plasma energy of the universe is all the same. Now, welcome to the true knowledge of creation. New plasma technology, new science for man, new understanding of how things can be implemented and applied. If you noticed, you don't hear much bleeping behind me as much as the beginning. But if you put the camera on, you will see that the systems are still running. Would you like to switch over and show and come back on the screen again to the whiteboard? The more you run, the more you absorb from the environment. You remember when we started, we seen how fast it was bleeping because it was just brought in. As Klaus said, we just brought the system for security reasons half an hour before presentation. And now you see it takes shorter time. And through to its use, the fridge is still working. And a small slow cooker can still cook. We told you a few weeks ago about how we are about to set things up to go into mass production. Many of you, the last leg of millions of euros Keshe Foundation invested, try to help to bring it out. We reveal to you that this process will gives the possibility for new factories with new knowledge and technology to be set up and gradually to go through transition. Those who are setting up and trying to get this sorted have taken too long. We have two choices. The Keshe Foundation has been defrauded by millions, or they deliver the material which they promised. We revealed their names and their organizations, and I'm sure they do not like to know their name has been released. And then we ask for action against the whole structure, or we see their support as they promise to deliver, that we, on the back of our knowledge, can deliver the technology. And then we ask you where to find these people and how to handle them. And then we go to the government, that no organization can be defrauded by millions of dollars of its assets. We hold the name back and the structure back. They asked us for a few more days. If we do not receive it, then we release how many millions Keshe Foundation has paid. That when we release this technology, we don't rely on governments to support us. We rely on the strength of the whole wealth of the knowledge of and the wealth of the Keshe Foundation. Then you understand, we will structure the whole, what we call the production of the new systems on a new way, our way, that every factory will be across this planet, that no nation will be depending on the other. And then collectively, we bring the new science and the application of it, be it on the energy, on transportation, on food, and the rest. Do we need to use the fertilizers and contaminate the land for centuries? We don't need to anymore. If you understand the process of this, we will show you how this can be done. And do we need even to produce materials to use as fertilizer or replace it? Do we go to the next step of conversion of the fields into food? Do we go into process of understanding the whole process of the creation and bring that change for us to be there to create the condition of flow, the energy flow that we need, that we can produce what we said, the way we said it and the way it should be done in the universe. I cannot send you to Earth to pick up a fish and chips or a kebab. Sorry, there are no meats and no breads in that corner of the universe. But you still can create what it creates as the emotion of it. The way the father or grandfather created the emotion of the grandchild. Smell, I asked him. He said, I couldn't smell. I was too busy trying to feel. The whole knowledge has changed. The whole structure of the knowledge has changed. And now you see, we call it climatization. The system is climatizing. Will produce electricity forever. As we say in English, till the cows come home. And God knows if there are any cows come home because we don't need them anymore. Any other question?
Okay, we have a hand up with Salamia here. Could you go ahead, Salamia?
Hi, Mr. Keshe. I'm so happy that you
Hello.
released what you promised to, and also because you answered to my wish from Universal Council that Keshe Foundation will serve the humanity by giving kind of free energy. For me, this generator is free energy. And my question now is related.
I don't like that term of free energy.
You
The
don't
guy
like
who
free
created
plasma.
the word, let me tell you what you understand.
Yeah.
Exactly this time, 6 years ago, the guy who created this terminology of free energy was a Peter file connected to the structure of the Belgians, who the free energy meant the free life of the children they took. And this terminology came from Sterling, and it was free because they had a king behind them that could take any child free. And the Keshe Foundation, because of the new technology, is bringing many young people around us, and a lot of people coming with their children use it to access. And exactly, if you go back on the history of the Keshe Foundation, August of 2017 or 16, if you check it, we revealed the hand of this man, and our websites became that. There's not a free energy. This is a universal energy. Free energy, when it comes up, is for pedophiles and abusers of children, and typically Belgians. So
Sorry,
if
I
you
didn't
talk about
know.
if you talk about, you don't know the history of the Keshe Foundation. The guy now is in solitary life sentence for raping his 2 daughters at the age of 6, 8, 10 weeks. These people are free energy. So when we talk about the plasma universal energy, that's what this technology is.
My question is related to the fractal of the universe as a toroidal, this magnetical and gravitational McGrath. People call toroid, and we call infinite loop of McGrath, going and coming of energy. I don't know if my language is appropriate, but this is the energy of the universe. The toroid is a fractal of the universe.
So what are you trying to tell us, please?
That Unicos is a toroid. We as human beings, we are toroids. Plasma is a toroid. And maybe what we use here is an impact of the toroidal plasmatic energy. This is my understanding. Maybe I'm wrong, but I would like to know from you if there's any link. And the link with the sea.
Everything comes, you put name to it. Everything comes
Yes.
from motion of the fields.
Yeah.
What name you put on it is what you understand of it at that point. So you can call it anything you like. You call it toroid, you call it tokamak, you call it CERN, it's all the same. It's how the field, the plasma is what we call the field of universe. How much does that universe allows you to extend, and where to escape to is the direction that you might call it emotion, you might call it a dream, and all sorts of things which we decide in the background ourselves. We have used too many names for the same effect. If you bring it together, then it has no what I call diversion. You see, as I said, you don't see it. Maybe you see it here in the background. On the floor here, you see sunlight. Knowledge of the man should be like this, like the sun, like the rays of the Creator. Does not matter if the spot on the floor is black, blue, yellow, or brown. It shines the same on all of it. And it's man who has chosen different name and colors for the same structure of beauty of the Creator. And now you depends how you see it. Is the color you see the same black as me, or is it the same brown as you see it? And this is what it has to be. The knowledge, we try to put something into it to make it that we understand more, become more intelligent. But in fact, there is no intelligence when the light of the Creator shines on us. It's us who decide on it. So it's us who chooses how we call it. If you see it, we call it the sun. If you see it the other way, we call it the light from the lamp, or we call it the cosmic rays, which we cannot see it as the light the way we are used to. So it's us who creates terminology, and this is the problem with all our work. Now, today, in a simple way, I showed you the atom and the energy system as we've done before, and now with the plasma, and for the first time, you understand how isotopes are created in the field radiation, which allows different field strength inside to show themselves, that we call has 1 neutron more or 20 neutrons more. It is the matter state which we decided, but as energy, the whole lot of nucleus becomes one and dictates the position of that electron, or this what we call moon. So you can play with words, but the essence doesn't change.
Thank you very much. I experienced
Oh,
also myself.
Sorry, can I go
Yeah.
to something, please?
Please.
Can we stop there? If the knowledge seekers in the background measure the time between each time the system switches on and off, and go back at the beginning and just measure how much is extending the time of the switch and switch off. They'll come to the point after few hours and few days that they will never go off. You won't get that even bleeping. And just measure it. When we started, we just about half an hour, 20 minutes before you came online, you saw how frequently it was changing, and you measure it now. What's the space gap? What's the time gap? And then we show it. This is a true generation of power from what we call the field of universe. From where the universe sent us the energy, and now we managed not to convert it, but to apply it and use it the way it should be. Rick, any other question?
Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you very much.
I had also something to add, if you allowed me, about.
Can we go to the next question, please, to give a chance to the others?
Okay.
Thank you.
We have a question in YouTube. Sorry, from a live stream from you. Why you? It's who says, we know that plasma emits a spectrum of fields. Is my understanding therefore correct to say that isotopes of plasma are just the use and access of a specific range of the fields of plasma?
If you understand nuclear decay, And if you go back into matter state of how the scientists today explain nuclear decay, falls apart when you come into the plasma understanding of it. And how it falls apart is that if you move the plasma in a certain position, the integrity of the field strength cannot hold on. And that the strength holding to the collection of fields creates the division, creates what we call the splitting of the plasma. And then we understand nuclear decay totally in a different way than what we've done up to now. And this brings back a lot of new understanding into the whole system and the structure of the what we call matter state atoms. Then we understand, even in the body of the man, how thalamus and thymus change vitamin C to vitamin A. All it does, it gives it enough energy to change the twist of it. Otherwise, it's the same what we call lymph cell. It doesn't do anything else with it. It's like you're sitting in a shooting range and shooting at a ball in a given angle to give it a given twist. If it hit the top of it, it goes down. If it's sideways, it goes sideways. And you give it a slow and a high speed. Then we understand how the world of even biology, which we have accepted, will change. As I said, I can make a plutonium, uranium from a behavior from a single hydrogen. And that's what it is. When you eat food, becomes part of the energy of the lymph, then what happens? When it comes through the process to thalamus and thymus in connection with each other, it gives it the twist to the energy which the body needs, what we call what could be energy of a vitamin D or with energy of vitamin C. And this is what we have not understood up to now. The speed of rotation, the angle of the rotation, we have chosen different names in direction of the release of the fields from them. If you're rotating this way, you release less energy. If you rotate slightly with a different angle, you give more energy. And that energy in interaction with the other fields going in that direction creates radiation, rubbing of the hands. But this time comes from inside. This is what I'd say, plasmatic nuclear is totally different than matter nuclear. We created out of the interaction of the field of the plasma itself, not from release and everything else which we have accepted as nonsense in nuclear technology today. This is what has and what it needs to be understood. And then mankind will move to the next step.
Mr. Kesh, is Dean here. Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So you brought forward this incredible technology in this particular moment. So how long do you think this transition period will take in the matter state for this to materialize, to end some of the conditions that we have right now?
The way we see it, a lot depends on the behavior of the German government today. If German government is going to accept what we see the crisis in Western Europe and let people literally battle it out, we've seen today, Italian Prime Minister is resigning because he cannot sort out the economical situation with the COVID and now with the energy crisis. Europe is going to run into a big problem. As well, I've said many times, mankind will accept my technology not out of his beauty, out of demise of himself. The German government, the French and Italians, which are the leading industrial groups in Europe, will bring this technology out very rapidly if they want to stop the whole process which is going on now and bring back the new economy into operation. And if the German government, especially what we call the new chancellor, goes and adopt this technology, has to go to his nation where it's come from, and he opens up. German government does not have the facility to build so many systems as we see off the cuff for the nation. So it has to go to save people, to teach the technology live online. How to make your energy system, how to make your what we call food system. But the problem with the governments will be very simple, and that is the fear is with cutting out the petroleum, they lose income. Then they have to restructure that all of us, according to what we contribute to the society, we pay taxes. Not but how much fuel we use. That's how the economy of the world has gone back to front. They tax us on the fuel, they tax us on everything, and who suffers more? The poor. Because a liter of fuel to me is 1 liter, and I earn $200 a week, and I need $50 to go from A to B, the same car. The rich man who earns 2,000 or 10,000 pays, he benefits by it more. It has to become society change. And we have few weeks for the German government to accept the new technology and bring it in rapidly, which one of the biggest problem will get. One of the reasons Europe now is sitting on the Keshe Foundation technology is that they have to end the Napoleon, what I call, situation with Belgium. And they accepted the country as a center of the Europe. How can you change it? The problem now with Germany sits to accept the rubbish fraud case they put for us by Peter Fall, King of Belgium, and the Belgian government, and literally throw Belgium out of the EU and save the rest of EU, or we stick to it, let the nation pay. Do 375 million have to pay with one Peter Fall King? Is worth of a king to save more than 375 million people suffering today? As simple as that. Unless the whole structure of the governing body are a bunch of Peter Falls themselves. Or they've been taken ransom by it, the way we saw with what we call the situation in America, and the guy who even took the Prince of England to dust. Yeah. So it's not when we are in the point of, if we don't accept the technology, it'll come problems which we see in Europe. Hunger, short of energy, and the rest of it. And this time, the Chinese stole the technology and they put in the name of their scientists. This time they can't. The Germans have to put it out. The French have to put it out. And this is the dilemma in the next few weeks. When we show the mass production, industrial level of the, what we call the gases, is Germany go and say we don't have, or do the knowledge seekers of the Keshe Foundation go open, public on the German and say the technology is here, our government is supporting a Peter Fall King, and we are paying for it. We will see the end of kingship. And this is the whole purpose of understanding new technology. It's not just Belgium. All of us have to be equal. We choose somebody to be a president, he has to accept the burden of a nation. The same as now we have Universal Council members. They accept the burden of the language, what they have to do. Yeah. So will it come out? Germany doesn't have time. In 2 months' time, as the German ministers say, there's going to be unrest in Europe because of the lack of target. People cannot pay for the fuel. There is not a fuel to pay for. You know, during the Second World War, Jews had a lot of gold, but was worth nothing. They couldn't buy bread. Yeah? Having all these hungry people, but having the money in the banks, you cannot pay for the fuel which doesn't come, it's not going to help. We are in a situation. Open up the technology, release it the way it's here in front of you, plus the gas we showed in Tehran, which means it cannot be, it's not another scientist who find how to run an engine with the water and the Belgian poisoned him on the table. And the brother is scared to talk because they've threatened him too, the Belgians. We paid for this technology to be open with the life of Fabio, exactly 6 years ago. And the time has come that the King of Belgium, the Belgian state, identified as a pedophile state, go under sanctions, change of government, open the country, take these ridiculous things they put on Keshe Foundation because of him, then we'll see the expansion because there is a need. Government will not be there, it will be riots. This is the report by the government themselves, not us. Europe cannot. How long more the directors of Fox will be pressurized to support this, or will they open or let him go? And then we see the change. Then the scientists in Europe, America will work together, we bring a new industry. It's finished when you can show you can create energy out of air. What is the need for it?
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. So that's in, so this is helping humanity and ending some of the suffering and some of the conditions that many people are going through in these moments. So taking it the next stage further, in the other room, we have the capabilities to travel in a different way. On a soul level, this becomes the universal community, and this is where the Universal Council steps into position, making wishes and bringing about many fundamental changes with thoughts and intentions. So how long will this transition be for humanity to take the leap?
Centuries.
Why do you say that?
You've been here and you've seen people coming out of the room. You record them.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, and you see how they're touched, how they feel.
Yeah.
We see them coming with tears.
We do.
We see them different way because you record them after they come in, the ones who want to talk. So how many of these systems can we make that the whole of humanity can go in? Yeah, that's the position. Or can we teach it that we can do it without? That's a transition time. That's how we do. How long we take to change.
Humanity is going to be, it's not going to be an instant transition. This is going to be a gradual filtering process. You think will take some
depends how our
generations.
governments do. We shouldn't have a nation which is a communist, a nation which is monarchist, a nation which is democracy, which is actually run by the monarchists in the background in different names. Has to be open. When we become all equal, understanding, then we change. Then we have that, what we call the balanced field. We don't need to go to America to find freedom and wealth. We find wealth within us, doesn't matter where we are. And this is the whole understanding of this new technology.
Yeah,
We've been here 4 or 5 weeks now. We see how some people come out of that room and how it changes their life when they come out. When I see the face of the lady who came out yesterday, she said, I don't want to tell people what I've seen with Christ, otherwise people won't believe me. And I'll become stuck with that. She didn't want to be recorded.
No, she didn't. No.
She didn't want recorded, but she gives us the exact detail of what and what we promised past decades will bring you. People will tell you, you go. And then if these people become more and more people who've been through their ancestors, met, felt, they'll see him in different conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. This is available now through the foundation. These units are going to be.
These have been put on sale. We're delivering it in December and January. Okay. Our main target now is, if you go on the Keshe Foundation website on the sale, we have put a gas production for 22 million for governments for 100,000 liters a day. This is the industrial part of the Keshe Foundation. This is not sold through the Keshe Foundation sales. is the assets of the Keshe Foundation Holland. Keshe Foundation sale just represents the technology, but everything belongs to Foundation. In a very near future, all the assets of the Keshe Foundation will be transferred to Holland. And everything which we own under different name, and this technology will go into Markray very soon. Markray, we own 97%. It's not Mehran Tawakkoli Keshe as a shareholder, it's a Keshe Foundation as a shareholder. And we have millions, it's their assets. So we are not showing, touching, speculating in the market. It's us, and this is a technology which Markray will open internationally. And then that asset belongs to the foundation. And then it's in the hand of you as Universal Council members and Universal Council, Earth Council members, how this new structure will work.
Yeah. So that interaction between the Earth Council and the Universal Council, that's going to be, how does that go into formalize?
The Earth Council and Universal Council are going to be set as two companies. And then they interact with the Keshe Foundation as a structure holder to carry out the wishes, and how we carry out the wishes, that the Africans don't get everything and Americans get nothing. The beauty with the Earth Council is that they make sure that everything is shared equally across in knowledge, in wealth, and that's what the structure is. Universal Council is to bring the other dimension in how it has to be done ethically and correctly with everything, not only with man, but behind man. And we had our beautiful friend from Malta here yesterday who went through the system. Malta is going to be, we want to establish the Center for Council in Malta as an island and as a structure of democracy, even with all the mafia strength in the back of it and the Vatican as the Prince of Malta. That is an island where anybody can come to. That is not made for man. It's for the whole structure we set up with universal community. And it's where the Christ landed. And we will build the place in that place. It's just time. There's just time when we are ready, and Emmanuel is working very hard trying to get this sorted with us, with what you call it, with the Maltese. But the headquarters of the Keshe Foundation will be in Malta. It's just finding the time. We spend enough time there trying to establish it, and it brought a lot of freedom, Malta, for me 2 years ago, and that freedom is reflected to humanity. So we have to set the companies, we have to build a structure in Malta, and use the island that no nation can do. If you look at the structure of the United Nations today, it's absolutely disaster. American decides who goes to United Nations and where they stay. Now with this technology, any ambassador, any world leader, or any person can appear in the hall of United Nations. It's the story of the donkey and the bell. You remember the bell, ringing the bell, where the king puts us, bring the owner to see what's. At the moment, what we call, we have no say. With Malta, we have a say. We see the gain going off and coming back up. But this is the man breaks up system. This is the plasma technology of the future. It's still there.
Yeah.
It doesn't change. There we are.
Mm-hmm. And I can confirm as well that being
And
present.
there we are again. Ta-da! The light is on.
Yes,
Magic.
It's wonderful to see this, and the fact that we've shown it that the whole system is completely self-dependent. There's nothing around it. It literally is a self-contained unit that is.
We can dance with it. I mean, you can go anywhere you like with it.
And that is a wonderful thing.
And this has been many sleepless nights for Klaus and the people. Even they were till 10, 11 o'clock last night. They were there putting it. I see the pictures. They were putting it together. Many of you might think, what is here? Down here are the switches and the controls. We better don't show the inside the stomach of the system, do we?
Thank you, Mr. Kesh. Thank you for everything
You're
you're
welcome.
doing. That's quite incredible. And for me, it's a very monumentous day that does bring about some very big changes. I know the first Blueprint Day significantly changed things. However, this next stage, and then the third stage where you bring in the gas and the oils, that's going to make
The
a
gas and
huge
then the
change.
water, production of the water,
And the
the
production.
biggest shortage. The gas is important because of what we have, the crisis in Europe. And then the other part of the gas is important because we have fires in Europe. We have no way to control it.
Mhm.
And we will introduce new fire control system through the Keshe Foundation, where we create a plasma, which a plasma leaves a man to live,
Mhm.
but stops the fire. The beauty with this new plasma technology, which we bring for fire, is the animals will stay alive. Usually when you use CO2, you kill.
Yeah.
With this, because it's a gas plasma, allows the man to use it to survive. It's
So
the way
this-
we do.
So you can you explain that a little bit more? So that the animals, you're saying that the animals.
No life will be lost with use of this.
No
Like
physical.
normally you suffocate when you have too much CO2 in the air, basically. People
But
are stuck in
you-
tanks and so on underneath the ground. Sometimes they can get overcome by CO2.
Yes, that's your matter state, Rick. But if you
Right.
look, all of you have been using the CO2 and ZN
Yeah.
gases
Yeah.
for COVID, for health application.
Mhm.
So if it kills in the matter state, it heals in the plasma state.
Yeah.
Now you understand?
Mhm.
So that's the difference. It's the same. With a new, what I call fire extinguisher, you call it plasma fire extinguisher, if you call it, we don't kill anymore. The energy of the plasma becomes energy of life. Maybe even you've been suffocating with the plasma. Now that CO2 helps you to live, gives you the energy. It's a different ballgame, but we all know it because we use it. If any of you ever thought for past years, all these CO2s we are absorbing should have killed us in our homes.
Yeah.
Huh? But we use this amino acid to give life back to us because we are not dealing with this matter state, we're dealing with this plasma state. And now we understand it. So when we comes to fire, it's a matter state,
Yeah.
but life is a plasma state. So it gives life to the tree, it gives life to the animal who's in the fire, gives life to the man who's dying, but on that hand, it stops the growth of the, what do you call it, oxygen, lack of oxygen
Lack of
conversion.
Could
And
be
in
like
some-
a fire suit for the firemen that are fighting the forest fires, for example. A
Yep,
protective
in so many
dome
ways.
around them.
We don't need, you don't need to. You just create a plasma around the fire in the wood and that's it. The animals survive. But the beauty with this situation with the methane gas and the CO2, when it comes to play, because a lot of you are not used to it, it'll create rain. In the forest, it starts usually because it's too dry. When you use this combination the right way, not only you stop the fire, now you create rain. So what was the cause of the fire? So like we see it in California, we see a lot of states in Europe now are on the red alert with a lot of fires, with the wood fires. So it's a different change. Maybe next 12 months when we hear fire, not as much as what we see today, but we have to understand we need the fires to start a new life.
Of course. Yeah.
So it's what we call the phoenix effect,
Mhm.
rising from the ashes.
And so this plasma effect for the fire when you extinguish the fires, this is a plasmatic condition? Is it a physical? Do we see
Yes,
it? We
yeah.
will see it?
We plan it next week. Hopefully, if we can show it,
Mhm.
we'll start a fire and we show you fire.
Okay.
And we drop a chicken in it, see if the chicken walks away with it. It is what it is. It's the way. but we have to, it'll take a long time for what we showed last Monday and today
Mhm.
to be understood.
Right.
And next week, we have the dealing with the German government and the French to stop the what we call decline of the economy. And then we see the next step.
And do you see this as in this moment now? Do you sense that these what we've shown today? Do you sense that this will change the
I don't
government's
sense it.
position?
We set it up that way.
Yeah,
I don't
it's-
say.
So it's a position that's taking place.
Yeah, it's a setting up. We are already in communication with the German government,
Mhm.
and it's the next step
Okay.
to that level. But you have to realize, even for them to understand this is very heavy, and to accept this, especially coming from a nuclear uranium physicist, is the hardest thing for them.
Yeah.
And then they look at what the Peter files in Belgium have done.
Mhm.
They cannot fix how this happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. I put a condition on the supply of the technology to the Germans. Blockage of Belgium. This is a precondition.
Mhm.
We don't allow no Belgium to move out till we find out which one is Peter File, which one is doing what they do, because they are propagating. We've seen them, how they work across. And it has to be contained, because we cannot, it's like man killing. Now, these people abuse. If you take it into space, it's clear. When we put people in that machine, if I tell them to go to Kathmandu, none of them go to Kathmandu. But if I tell them we go to France and Paris, all of them go to Paris. Why? Because we had a French couple here.
Yeah.
They brought the essence of the France. Yeah. We tell people, the Germans, to go to Italy or to Paris. We had yesterday, the German guy wants to go to Paris, and he can go there. He visits his grandchildren because the line of energy to that is open. So if you open this to Belgians, you've seen it. They came here, we refuse them. We don't even let them to come into the building. Yeah, they are scourge of the society, and they have to be contained till we find a solution for them.
So that's interesting. You said so literally, as the nations and the people come in and go through the system, we would not require the incorrect conduct of the Belgians to go into the system
No.
and be part of it.
No,
So
they've been refused.
they refused. Would they even walk in?
They can't.
They can't.
They can't.
Mm.
They take their soul out. We know how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's what this is with them.
Mhm.
It's not just Belgium, it's the structure we sit. We have more pedophilia in Saudi Arabia. Belgians are the tip of the iceberg.
Okay.
Yeah. I was explaining, we spend a lot of money of the United Nations goes to buy children which are in trafficking from Africa and North India for the Saudis' pleasure. Huge amount of funds of the United Nations goes to buy the children back, and the same few days later appear down the road with the same people, because they have created this kind of. But if we put sanctions on a nation with a knowledge and technology like this, for 80 million to suffer, how we allow 8 million abuse our children and then still be part of the center of the United, unless the members of European community are the same. Is EU center for all these activities? That's why nobody wants to stop it.
Yeah.
You understand?
Mm,
So
awesome.
we have Strasbourg, move EU headquarters to Strasbourg. They do it twice a year, make it permanent. We have to answer the question with this technology is not just the technology. A lot of things done. Do we need prisons? Or whether we change the people, we put them in this machine like this, and if we change them, they become the best things in society. If we can convert Christians to Muslims and radicalize them in prisons, we can put the same system and make a human out of them at prisons. Do we need hospitals? Now is the next step. Cleaning up.
Clean up the mess.
Cleaning up the mess. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks
Mr.
for all
Gibbs.
your
Thank-
work for the
Thank you,
foundation.
Mr. Gibbs. Thank you.
Any other question?
Yes, I've got a couple of questions, and some of the comments in the YouTube are related. First of all, with the fuel creation unit, is that self-sufficient or does it plug into grid or a battery system?
Which fuel?
Well, you showed the hydrogen fuel creation.
No, it's
Yeah.
independent. It's independent.
Okay. Okay. And now something's come up with the oil industry. I've learned just recently, and that is it looks like there's going to be a shortage of oil for diesel oil for trucks and other transport, rail transport, and so on, because of the additives that they put into the base oil stock. There's only two companies that make the additives, and they are both basically shut down for making additives. And it's a worldwide phenomenon that we're about to run out of diesel oil because of not having these additives, in which case the entire industry could, which supplies food and all of the things that we use and so on, could collapse. Now, will the new fuel creation unit that we're about to see in the next workshop, perhaps, would that or some other technology that the Keshe Foundation is using be able to create the additives that these diesel rigs need in order to continue operating? Or is that a different technology?
Put it this way, go back. We talked earlier on. It needs a small converter. You are a man of the engines. You suffer because of all the interactions you had with the fuel, but still.
Yes.
If we put a gas converter into the transport system which uses diesel, do we need diesel? Not really, do we?
Okay. Right. I mean, there's
it's just as fast as the problem is if there are a lot of things accumulating with each other to bring what I said, this technology be accepted because of its need for human demise, is that we are short of fertilizers because of the Ukrainian situation. We become short of gas. We're short of other bits, which creates the other parts, because now gradually these gases are not just used for burning, gases are used for petrochemicals. They are going to be shortage. There is going to be a massive shortage on the whole acceptance of the structure. So we have to find ways in it and do what we've done in Keshe Foundation, mass teaching. The way, if you bring Rafael is on the line, people in Brazil, in jungles of Amazon are using this technology because knowledge seekers went and taught them. Are the Western citizens more illiterate and lack of knowledge than the people in Amazon using this technology? Have we gone that backwards? Do the people in Amazon understand more than the Europeans? So,
well, I definitely think I'd like to say something about that. In that, I definitely think that's what's happening, is that in our so-called developed countries, we've gotten to rely so much on the high technology. And a great example is the diesel trucks, which have this additive, the diesel exhaust fluid, that they have to buy this extra fluid that gets put in order for diesel trucks not to have as much pollution. And if you don't have that fluid, then the truck comes to a crawl literally and only can do 4 miles an hour. And this is true in Europe as well as in North America. And it's made it overly complicated. So if you have an old diesel in a third world country, it'll run fine. But if you have a modern diesel, the whole system can collapse so easily just because of not having this additive for the fuel for these vehicles. So that's another
the more
example.
advanced we get, the worse it gets. I don't know if I told this story. I used to work in Gambia, and in Gambia is a nation forced on another nation, built out of how they built the Gambia. is a river which goes right in center of what we call a country. British wanted to have a say in the middle of a French country in Africa. They put a boat on the river, put a cannon on it. Wherever the cannon they shot landed became a border of nation called Gambia. So Gambia has about 16 miles or 16 kilometers front on either side of the river, and then it narrows because the boat couldn't go any deeper and became longer. It's like a tongue in the, what do you call it, in another French nation. And I used to work and live quite a lot in Gambia. One day we decided to go to the interior because there was something built we wanted to have a look at. You drive on the beach, and then when you come near to it, you go inwards. This is the tradition in Gambia we used to do. And as we turned in, it was a very seasonal raining time, and it was all mud. And we were on this advanced four-wheel drive, stuck in the mud. We couldn't go anywhere because the mud was there. That's it. That was the end. We sat in the car that the rain stops, it dries up, and then we can pull. And while it was raining and we were waiting for the dry time, we heard a noise. And we just looked. It was a Gambian walking in the mud. And he passed us and he looked at us. With all the advanced technology you have, me barefooted past you. And this is how the technology is. The more advanced you get, when it comes to time of crisis, the more you fall back. So it is the way we are. And now people like you are expert in converting cars. We have to go back to gas. But that still is an interim. If we get the support of the governments to what we showed just a few minutes ago, when you look at this system, we talk it as a human resource system. If you look at this system, if you understand how it works, you shop from Amazon in China in the factory, they put it in the system, you receive it at home delivered to you within seconds. Do you need the diesel fuel? Do you need shipping? The knowledge comes differently, because now when people go into the enhancement unit, flight simulation, they sit there. When we tell them go to see your grandpa or go to New York or go to moon, we don't wait 18 hours or like Americans 7 days to get to the moon. It's instantaneous on the field of the universe. This is what the future is. Do we need all these razzmatazz we created, or we go through the transition time? And that's what it is. Do we need the diesel fuel, or do we push to the limit that the new technologies, the factories become eyesore as we build the car units and everything else? We don't need the transport. Now we understand energy transport. Even so, stone has a soul. If we find the energy of the soul of a stone, we can move the stone. Up to yesterday, because we were trying to be very cautious, those of you who came here for past 3-4 weeks, we asked you to leave everything behind. You had to take all your jewelry, metal pieces out. Now, this week, we changed the system. The system is changed, and our team is still, as I said, that in there, changing it. We start seeing what we can do. Now we let people with the jewelry, with the everything except electronics to go in. You don't need to take your belts off anymore. You don't need to take your watch off anymore. Yeah. So we're learning, and we added to the process. If you came here the first week, we took everything off because we had to see the parameters to work, and people now go in and come out. We stop people with, what do you call it, bits and bobs added to their bodies to not to come in. Yeah, even you have a hip replacement. Now we have added enough. We see it's safe for them to come in. So if we can do that, and we can transport you with your hip replacement from Linz to Australia, then why can't we do the rest? This is the development technology. This is now at the moment very Keshe Foundation scientists working bringing these things out. You can imagine if the Germans and the Americans and the Russians and the Iranians and the Chinese scientists get together on the race to space, the true space technology, you can say goodbye to all the trucks. People will leave it on the side road. But the question comes, what are we going to do with the society? How are we going to beat them? How are we going to do it? And in fact, how are we going to bring a technology which is acceptable? We see now a picture of the Keshe Foundation enhanced what we call exhibition center in Linz, the flag of 3 nations next to each other: Austria, Iran, and Keshe Foundation. Then this is the beauty of it. We become one nation and we stand amongst the nations. And we have to be able to deliver this technology free to everyone. We don't stand as a scientific institution. Our flag stands as one nation institute. And that's how we see the technology is free. If we were Americans, we would have hired such a technology 200 meters underground, Secret Service officers and intelligence people can go in. It's open. From outside, you can see it. From inside, you can learn it. I have made one nation out of human race when it comes to science and technology, and then the rest will follow. Any other question?
Very good. From Stefania, a question from Frederica. Oh, sorry, from Lucio, I believe, somewhere in the Italian community. What are the 2 lamps for, and why do they turn on and off every now and then? Thank you. How did you create the beat?
I think go back from the beginning and learn a little bit about electrical. You understand, we don't create a beat, it's the battery charging itself. And the lamps ensure that we can produce energy. Any other question?
From Daniela in the chat here. Can you promise that your wonderful technology will not fall into the wrong hands?
It is already in the wrong hand, it's in my hand. And I'm giving it to everybody, so sorry about that.
Yes, and the knowledge seekers are kind of iffy that way.
The worst lot to keep a secret.
Yeah. But I think it has a certain protection over it, this technology, in a way. It's sort of if you have bad intentions, it doesn't work out well for you when you try to engage in this technology, it seems.
No, unfortunately.
It's not good for working bad spells on people and things. It tends to make them well instead of sick and things like that.
Yeah, it's like your order, doesn't it? You can do jinx with it.
Mm-hmm.
Rick, Mr. Keshe, it's Dean here again. So can I ask a question to Rick? So Rick, how do you feel in this moment that this is being released, and with all your hard work you put in over many moments, how do you feel about this and what's happening right now, Rick?
Well, it's in many ways, it's the manifestation of the dream of the last dozen years or so of engaging with the Keshe Foundation and Mr. Keshe, and I mean, this has been the promise, and we're seeing the glimmerings. This is just the beginning, of course, and the glimmerings of the manifestation of what it might look like. And of course, the picture of what that looks like will change. It could change daily over the next months, but it's encouraging to see the comparison, the manifestation, we see the light continuing basically, and that's nice to see. It's self-sustaining light. All right, well, that's a movement forward in my estimation. And of course, I've had this thing with the diesel exhaust and the whole diesel oil thing. I'm highly allergic to oil as being a mechanic for many years, and to the fumes and exhaust of all the internal combustion engines and so on.
I want to show something.
For me to see that phasing out would be wonderful, but at the same time, perhaps there's other alternatives like creating fuels the way Mr. Keshe is talking about that might end up not polluting when they're burned. It might actually create a beneficial environment, and that could aid in the transition, because we will need a transition period. It's the whole planet is running on petrochemical fuels right now, and we can't just suddenly pull the plug on that. But on the other hand, it does look like we're seeing what could be a much quicker end than what we expected. I was surprised to see some of the information that I ran into in the last day, and it actually shocked me enough that I'm now more in favor of the creation of fuels idea rather than moving directly to the plasma technology if we have to. But I can see that we're very close to moving directly to the plasma. So in that case, as Mr. Keshe has hinted and said directly, why would we want to prolong the transition when perhaps it's an opportunity actually to move directly to a more plasmatic environment, and we'll be happier with that once we make the transition.
Thank you, Rick. Wonderful explanation. And I think what you've just said there is very important, that this transition period for the whole of the planet and for humanity does take some moments, because there are many situations where people, and I'm talking about from a single individual up to governments and further, who have become very matter state, very that there's a need here right in these moments. So this transition period is a wonderful time for it to manifest gradually, and then also give us the ability to then move into the next aspect of these technologies. So thank you for that, Rick. I'm going to hand back to Mr. Keshe now. Over to you.
If there are no other questions, we can call it a day and come back another day. But we will have a third, what we call plasma energy blueprint, and we can go much deeper with it and understand how the system works and how we can apply the system. If there are no other questions.
Stefania had a hand up here, but I'm not sure if the question is, you already answered the one question about the lamps going on and off, and perhaps she has something
The lamp
else.
going on and off is inverter. It's not to do with is converting energy from DC to AC, and that's what
Right. So they can review.
Nothing to do with the plasma technology. Is when the battery goes low, then the system stops and the plasma charges and it goes back up. This does not exist when it comes to this, what do you call it, the commercial units.
Good afternoon, Good morning, Mr. Cash. Thank you for answer, Lucio. Thank you for what you brought today. It was actually a question from Federica. She wants to make a question for you. Is it okay, or is it too late? Or...
No, what's the question?
Ok. Federica, qual è la tua domanda?
Good morning, Mr. Cash. Sorry for my English, but my question is the current situation that the Italians have, that is probably a resignation of the government. Are they positive thing or not? And what can we do to help in this transition period? Thanks.
Can you repeat that question, please?
Può ripetere questa domanda ancora?
The current situation that we Italians have, the probable resignation of the government, Draghi, and that, are they a positive thing or not for this situation? And what can we do to help in this transition period? Sorry.
Mr. Cash, she was referring to the fact that the Italian president's gonna change, so she asked me if it's a positive, negative things, and what we can do in this transition time to help.
Nothing to do. We don't get involved in politics. At the moment in Italy, you're in crisis. Your prime minister has handed his resignation. You're expecting election in September, October. And the whole thing is in a mess. It's going to get worse. We know the new version of Corona is appearing. What would bring again on top of the European nations. And we know that now you have a problem with the fuel shortages and everything else. Italy is very vulnerable. And this is how your people decide with your nation.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the suggestion. Mr. Cash, I got one more question, but I don't know if you're okay with it.
Quelle due lampade che si accendono ogni tanto e si spengono, a cosa servono?
Can I make the question, translate the question, Mr. Cash?
Translate, yeah.
He said, it's Lucio, I think he didn't hear it before. He said, these two lamps, they turn on and off. What their function? What is their function?
We've already
Goodbye.
answered that twice
Question.
Mm-hmm.
already.
Yeah, this is what I
Question.
thought. I'll let him know.
Thank you.
Okay, you already answered that, Stefania, twice. So you review the video.
Shall we call it a day?
Sure, Mr. Cash.
Just wait. We have a question from internal committee, I call it.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Mr. Cash. So one last question would be, Mr. Cash, if you were addressing one person in this very moment who is about to receive this gift, how would you explain it to this one person, and how would you feel yourself after releasing this, after all these moments? And you're now at the position where you can release it to this one individual to give them the benefit of this technology that you've developed over so long.
It's a gift. How you use it depends on you. It creates energy, it creates food, it creates water, and that's what the man needs. So it depends what we take from it and how we want to use it and how we develop it. I gave the knowledge to the Iranian government exactly 14 years ago, July, August, when we built the first reactors in Sharif Tehran University. And the agreement I signed with Ahmadinejad was that this technology cannot be used to military purposes. It can be used for defending the nation, but that cannot be used as aggression. And they kept to word, but they expanded it and they extended it. They use it in different applications. They understood the principle. It's not actually giving a system. Once you understand the principle, and now we see a lot of applications for it. But to me, is when you give a gift like this to a person, it depends on the intelligence of the man, how he uses it, what he does with it. Yeah. You can make water out of it and feed a thirsty man. You can make water of it and use it to control a thirsty man. You understand? That's the difference. That's how we see the changes. Can you take a picture? And this is what we see. On next week, we show simultaneously the production of methane gas in Tehran and in Austria. And then we see what's the next step. What is the pressures on the, what we call gas producing nation? Because once we produce the gas in such a way, it brings it away the dependence on fuel. We already have a knowledge of converting our systems to work on a gas than what do you call it, diesel or petrol. So that's not a problem. We have put in the new technology with electric currents. So that solves the problem. And then we got to see how the governments use it. To me, the governments like Germany, if they don't want to go to what I call massive industrial revolution, and the problems which they have now is to teach it openly on the national media. Don't look that you're going to lose income. Look that you're not going to be in power to have an income. And when a nation becomes weak, it becomes preyed on upon other conditions. Yeah, and we cannot afford to have a country like Germany to become under control of the others. If the what do you call it? If the German leaders understand this, understand? That's the difference. And this is what we see. It's not if you give it to one, we give it to a nation, the leaders of a nation. What they're going to do with it? How they're going to abuse the nation from it? You understand? You look at the person, I look at it. We're giving this gift to the Germans. How would they do it? How would the French do it? How would the Italians use this to create the next step? The biggest problem was to show you can create energy from environment. Without burning fuel, we are depending on the sun comes, the sun goes, the water is there, the water is not there. This system can be used anytime, anywhere. At the moment is 0.3 watts, which is a normal house. You need it or whatever you do. Actually, you need it to put it in the back of your car when you can live in it all the time. You don't need to fuel it. And then the 1 kilowatt and 2 kilowatts, and then through the other conditions, once we know it, we don't need any nuclear power stations. We don't need anything. It's a gift to a nation, to humanity. But let's see if this one man can understand it.
Thank you.
Thank you
Mr.
very
Kesh.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rick. We'll meet you soon in the next few days. We announce it, where we'll show the production of methane gas and CO2 for both applications. And then we will go to the next step to see what the governments and the what we call nations will decide to do. We will see for sure the end of the Saudi Arabia as an oil state. That is 100% for sure. They have to find a new way to abuse children, as I call them. And we'll see for sure the countries like Iran will depend on oil and gas. They have to find a new dimension. The countries who have been stricken poverty to pay all the whatever they had to oil nations, for them just to be now changes. They become equal. We see emergence of new powers in Africa, through the understanding of the new technology. And we see the end of a lot of abuses, as we've seen for years, has been going around. We could have sold this technology for billions and shelve it, but we give it to billions, and I hope they enjoy having it on the shelf to enjoy it. Thank you very much for today. We'll see you most probably next week. And we'll give you a very short notice. We try to bring next week back to Linz and Tehran to show you the methane gas and the CO2. And then our team in the background working on production of water, and the water to become food, then it completes our work. We expect it to be completed within the next, thank you very much, within the next couple of months. But we give you the food, the energy, the water, and the gas as an interim till we all learn how to use the energy of the plasma. Thank you very much, Rick. Well, thank you for all the work and the support. And as I said, it's beautiful. We haven't made it, but the plasma of the creator shines on the plasma which the man has made on the system.
Yes, exactly. I was going to mention that. That's a beautiful ending, that the sun absolute decided to shine on, directly on the unit. Lovely.
Thank you very much, and see you next week.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kesh. Thank you very much. What a wonderful presentation today. All right. Let me get my screen back, and thank you everyone for being here today in the 442nd Knowledge Seekers Workshop on Thursday, July 21st, 2022. A day to remember, perhaps. Day to remember for sure. Okay, thanks everyone. And we have the next public teaching workshop, unless we have a workshop on Monday coming up with the third part 3 of the what we had today, basically. If we don't have that, then the next public teaching workshop will be the One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace, which comes up on Tuesday, July 26th. And that starts at 4 p.m. Central European time. Okay, I'll go out with one of our spaceship videos. That is the music version of the Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit. And we'll see you all next time around. Bye for now.